At the beach, he gave me a drink of lemonade. It has a strange chemical flavor and is very sweet. He grinned and said, "You need to hydrate, babe. I saw the life insurance email yesterday. $500,000 in my name." I kissed him and changed the glasses. He fell. The rail show followed. I can still taste the lemonade. It's extremely sweet and leaves a strange, artificial aftertaste. As I took that first drink, Tyler's eyes were on me, and his smile grew larger in the last of the sunshine. He had murmured, "You need to hydrate, babe," with a rare gentleness. However, I was previously aware of the communication concerning life insurance. He is liable for $500,000 for my demise. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on this amazing adventure. Before we start, if these inspirational tales are appealing to you, you might want to subscribe. It is totally free and aids in the development of this wonderful community. Let's get started. But allow me to start from the beginning. I worked at Coastal Insurance Solutions in Portland, Maine, and 6 months ago, my life was as predictable as the title charts I kept on my desk. I was simply 32-year-old administrative assistant Isabella Murray, looking out at a fading spider plant and a gray wall. Rent, food, and the odd indulgence in upscale coffee were all covered by my earnings. Processing insurance claims for other people while daydreaming about experiences I will probably never have was the most exciting thing I did. "Isabella, are you coming to my cookout this weekend?" One Friday, I was filing methodically when Diane from accounting leaned against my cubicle. "My brother's acquaintance needs a birthday present for my hubby. A single man with a respectable marketing career. I swear there's nothing strange about him." I nearly declined. Nearly. However, the week after my roommate's departure, my flat seemed particularly lonely, and the idea of having to eat another microwave meal by myself sounded intolerable. "Fine," I said. "But if he's a creep, I'm leaving and taking a plate of food with me." With lobster rolls, corn on the cob, and an excessive number of people jammed onto a deck with an Atlantic view, the picnic was everything you would expect from coastal Maine. Someone bumped my elbow when I was nursing my second beer. The voice muttered, "Sorry about that," rising over the commotion of the celebration. "My name is Tyler." "Isabella must be your name." I was surprised to see that he was tall and had kind eyes that wrinkled at the corners when he grinned. Not rehearsed, but casual in a way that seemed natural. In the end, we sat on the stairs that led to the ocean and spoke until the crowd dispersed. When I said, "Marketing sounds fascinating," I meant it. Tyler's description of his campaigns elevated even advertising to the level of art. He shrugged and said, "It pays the bills," but I could see the pride in his eyes. "How about insurance? That must be dull." I chuckled. "It is, but I'm good at it, and it's stable." Saying, "Stability is underrated," he pressed his bottle to mine. "To stability and maybe a little adventure." The proprietor of the little seafood restaurant where we had our first date knew Tyler by name. Our second was a trek along the cliffs at dawn. I was already picturing how his last name would sound with mine on the third date. It occurred quickly, perhaps too quickly, yet it felt perfect in a manner that had never been experienced before. 1 month later, my buddy Megan said over coffee, "You're different," and she was shining. When I remarked, "It's disgusting," I replied simply, "He gets me," unable to explain how Tyler appeared to get aspects of me that I was unaware of. How he persuaded me to apply for the job of team lead. How he recalled everything I had said I liked. Tyler led me to the same beach stairs where we had our first meaningful conversation for months after we first met. Since he recalled that I had previously stated that I preferred colorful stones, the ring was simple and had a little emerald rather than a diamond. "I don't have much," he said, hands slightly shaking. "But I promise you'll never doubt how much I love you. Will you marry me?" My yes was immediate, setting off a flurry of excited planning that culminated in a simple courthouse ceremony 2 months later. No big white dress or elaborate reception. Just us, a few friends, and dinner afterward at our favorite restaurant. I'd never been happier. We found a small cottage for rent near Ogunquit Beach. Nothing fancy, but with large windows that filled the space with light and the constant soundtrack of waves. Every morning, I'd wake up to find Tyler already on the porch with coffee, watching the water. Every evening, we'd walk along the shore and talk about our future. Maybe we can buy a place like this someday, he'd say, pointing to the larger homes further up the coast. After you get that promotion and I land the Peterson account, and kids, I'd venture, testing the water. 2, he'd say without hesitation. A girl first, then a boy. We'd fall into bed each night, wrapped in dreams that seemed entirely possible. On weekends, we painted the bathroom pale blue and hung shelves in the kitchen. Tyler installed a porch swing where we'd sit, wrapped in blankets, planning a future that seemed secure and bright. Then came the Tuesday when Tyler came home early, his face ashen. "They let me go," he said, sinking onto our second-hand couch. "Budget cuts. Effective immediately." I sat beside him and took his hand. "We'll figure it out. I just got that small raise, and we have some savings." "It's my fault," he said, his voice hollow. "I mishandled the Reynolds campaign. They lost a major client because of me." "Everyone makes mistakes," I assured him, pushing away the flicker of concern about this being the first I'd heard of any problems. "You'll find something else." That night, I held him as he stared at the ceiling, his body tense beside mine. "I'll take care of us," he whispered in the dark. "I promise you won't regret marrying me." "I could never regret that," I said, meaning every word. The next morning, I made calls during my lunch break, contacts from our wedding who might know of openings, friends in adjacent industries. Tyler spent the day updating his resume and seemed more cheerful by evening, kissing me deeply when I walked through the door. "My warrior wife," he called me, gratitude in his eyes. "Don't worry about anything. I've got some leads already." I believed him completely. Why wouldn't I? Love had made everything else so easy. Surely, it would carry us through this too. I increased my hours at work while Tyler worked and interviewed. We cut back on eating out, made coffee at home instead of stopping at cafes. Small sacrifices that brought us closer, I thought. "We're in this together," I told him each morning before leaving for work. And each night when I returned, "Any good news today?" His "not yet" began to sound practiced, but his kisses remained sweet, his embrace secure. 6 months into our marriage, I still felt like the luckiest woman alive, even with the strain of being our sole provider. Because Tyler was trying, because we had each other, because love was enough, or so I believed, until the day everything changed. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, 2 months after Tyler lost his job. Subject line: "Congratulations on your promotion, Isabella." I stared at my computer screen, mouth slightly open. Team lead. A 15% raise effective immediately. "You earned this," my manager said, squeezing my shoulder as she passed my desk. "Especially with all the extra hours you've been putting in." I practically floated home that evening, stopping to buy a bottle of champagne we couldn't really afford. Tyler would be thrilled. This was exactly what we needed, a financial boost while he continued his search. The cottage was dark when I arrived. No porch light, no delicious smells from the kitchen where Tyler had taken to preparing elaborate dinners, his way of contributing while unemployed. I found him in the bedroom, staring at his laptop screen in the dark. "Tyler, I have amazing news," I flipped on the light. He blinked rapidly, closing his laptop with a snap. "Sorry, I lost track of time. Guess who's looking at the new team lead for claims processing?" I pulled out the champagne, my smile so wide it hurt. His congratulations seemed genuine. The warm hug, the proud kiss on my forehead, but something flashed behind his eyes. Something that looked uncomfortably like resentment. "We should celebrate," he said, recovering quickly. "I made some promising connections today anyway." But 3 months later, those promising connections had yielded nothing. Tyler's rejection pile grew while our savings account dwindled. The champagne bottle from my promotion night remained in our refrigerator, unopened. I applied for the assistant manager position at the hardware store, Tyler mentioned one evening, voice flat. 40% less than what I was making before. That's great, I said carefully, learning to navigate his fragile mood. It's a foot in the door. A foot in the door, he echoed, a bitter edge creeping into his voice. At 34, with a marketing degree and 8 years of experience. He didn't get the hardware store job or the one at the cell phone kiosk or the car dealership. Night after night, I'd wake to find his side of the bed empty, the blue glow of his laptop screen visible from the living room. Just applying for jobs, he'd explain when I'd shuffled out in my robe. Go back to sleep. But the jobs he mentioned never seemed to materialize into interviews. Meanwhile, strange charges started appearing on our shared credit card, books about wilderness survival, a premium VPN subscription, a P.O. box rental. I knew nothing about work-related expenses, he'd explain vaguely when questioned. Networking costs. You wouldn't understand the industry. Then came the questions about my job. Not the usual, how was your day, but pointed inquiries about company policies, benefit structures, exactly how much life insurance Coastal provided to employees. Just trying to understand our safety net, he explained, kissing my temple. One of us needs to think about these things. 6 months after Tyler's job loss, I came home early with a migraine to find him on the phone in our bedroom. Door closed. Yes, that's right, I heard him say, voice low and serious. The policy should be activated by now. I just need to confirm the payout details. He saw me in the doorway and ended the call abruptly. Telemarketer, he explained. You look awful. Why don't you lie down? I'll make you some tea. The tea tasted bitter. Unusually bitter. I dumped it down the sink when he left the room. That night, searching for aspirin in his nightstand, I found an unmarked orange prescription bottle tucked behind his socks. The pills inside were small and white, nothing I recognized. When I looked them up online later at work, I discovered they were powerful antidepressants, ones he had never mentioned being prescribed. Anything you want to talk about? I asked that evening, watching him push food around his plate. Like what? His tone was defensive. Like, how you're feeling. Like, why you might need medication. His fork clattered against the plate. You went through my things. I was looking for aspirin. I reached for his hand. Tyler, I'm worried about you. Don't be, he said, pulling away. I'm handling it. But he wasn't handling it. His mood swings worsened. Sometimes excessively affectionate, other times absent and cold. He started complaining about stomach pains and insomnia. Once, I caught him recording me with his phone while I was cooking. Just capturing memories, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then came the beach invitations, sunset picnics, early morning coffee on the sand, always with some strange tasting drink prepared just for me. Special recipe, he'd say, packed with vitamins. After each outing, I'd experience mysterious symptoms, dizziness, nausea, headaches that lasted for days. And each time, Tyler was the attentive husband, insisting I rest while he handled everything. One afternoon, while Tyler was supposedly at a job interview, I found myself alone in the cottage, staring at his closed laptop. I had never invaded his privacy before, had never wanted to, but the orange pill bottle, the strange drinks, the memory of that hushed phone call. I opened his laptop. The password I tried, our anniversary date, didn't work. Neither did his birthday or mine. On a hunch, I typed the date we expected to fully pay off our modest wedding debt, October 17, 25. The screen unlocked. His browser history loaded automatically. I didn't have to scroll far to feel my blood run cold. How long does arsenic stay in the system? Undetectable poisons. Common household. Life insurance claim process spouse. How to make death look like natural causes. My hands trembled as I clicked on a bookmarked email. The sender was Atlantic Life Insurance. The message confirmed a policy taken out in my name, for $500,000, with Tyler as the sole beneficiary. The activation date was just 2 weeks ago. I closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it and went to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. In the mirror, I noticed how pale I looked, how tired. Was I actually sick, or was I being? I couldn't even think the word. That night, Tyler was unusually tearful. "I have a surprise," he announced over dinner. "I've planned something special for tomorrow. A beach picnic at sunset to celebrate 6 months of marriage." "Sounds perfect," I said, my voice steady despite the ice forming in my chest. "Should I bring anything?" "Just yourself," he smiled, reaching for my hand across the table. "I'll take care of everything." "I'm sure you will," I thought, returning his smile while my mind raced through possibilities. I needed evidence, needed to be certain before I made any accusations or any moves. After he fell asleep, I searched the bathroom and found a small vial hidden inside his electric razor case. No label, clear liquid inside. The foundation of our marriage wasn't just cracking. It was completely shattered. And tomorrow at the beach, one of us would fall through. I barely slept that night. Every time Tyler shifted beside me, I flinched, wondering if he could sense my discovery. When morning came, I kissed him goodbye as usual and left for work, my mind racing with questions I couldn't ask anyone. At the office, I locked myself in a bathroom stall and called our health insurance provider. "I'm checking on a prescription," I explained, heart pounding. "My husband, Tyler Murray, picked it up recently, but I can't remember the name." "We don't show any recent prescriptions for Tyler Murray," the representative replied after a moment. "The last one was 3 months ago. Amoxicillin for a sinus infection." So, the pills weren't prescribed. Where had they come from and why? During lunch, I searched online using my phone rather than my work computer. Symptoms of slow poisoning. How to tell if someone is poisoning you. Common household poisons. Each search result made me more nauseous than the last. The symptoms matched what I'd been experiencing after our special beach outings. The dizziness, nausea, headaches. I thought back to every drink he'd prepared for me over the past month. The bitter tea when I had a migraine, the vitamin-packed smoothies. Even my coffee sometimes tasted off, but I attributed it to stress affecting my taste buds. "You okay?" Diane asked, stopping by my desk that afternoon. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just tired," I lied. "Not sleeping well." "Marriage troubles?" she asked, eyebrows raised sympathetically. If only it were that simple. Something like that. At 3:17 p.m., my desk phone rang. An unfamiliar number with our local area code. "Is this Isabella Murray?" A man's voice, hushed and urgent. "Yes," I answered cautiously. "Who's calling?" "Listen carefully. I worked with Tyler at Meridian Marketing. My name's Mark. He doesn't know I'm calling you." My grip tightened on the receiver. "What is this about?" "I can't say much. I probably shouldn't say anything at all." He paused, his breathing audible. Tyler wasn't let go because of budget cuts or because he mishandled the Reynolds campaign. My mouth went dry. Then why? Another long pause. Company funds went missing. Evidence pointed to Tyler. They were building a case for prosecution when he resigned. The room seemed to tilt sideways. "Are you saying he stole money?" "I'm not saying anything officially." "But Isabella," his voice dropped even lower. "Be careful. Tyler isn't who you think he is. Check your financial accounts, your credit report, and don't eat or drink anything he gives you." The line went dead before I could respond. I sat motionless, staring at the phone. Part of me wanted to believe this was some cruel joke or a case of mistaken identity. But the warning aligned too perfectly with my own suspicions. By the time I left work, I had a plan. First stop, the bank. I withdrew $2,000 in cash from our joint savings account, leaving just enough to avoid suspicion. Then I visited our safe deposit box, removing my passport and birth certificate. At a different bank across town, I opened a new account in my name only. Next, I called my sister in California. "Can I visit soon?" I asked casually, aware that Tyler might check our phone records. "I'm thinking next week." "Of course," she answered clearly, surprised. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I lied. "Just need a change of scenery." At the pharmacy, I purchased activated charcoal tablets recommended online for certain types of poisoning and a small digital camera that would fit in my purse. Then, I drove home, rehearsing my normal routine, my normal expression, my normal kiss. "Hello." Tyler was waiting with flowers. "For my beautiful wife," he said, eyes crinkling with what looked like genuine affection. How had I never noticed the emptiness behind that smile? "Thank you," I said, accepting them with appropriate enthusiasm. "They're gorgeous." "Don't forget about tomorrow," he reminded me. "Our beach picnic at sunset, 6-month anniversary." "I'm looking forward to it," I assured him, turning away to put the flowers in water so he wouldn't see my face. That night, I feigned a headache and went to bed early, leaving Tyler alone with his laptop. At 1 a.m., I crept silently to the living room where he'd fallen asleep on the couch, computer still open beside him. This time, I was more methodical in my search. I found emails confirming wire transfers to offshore accounts, photos of me sleeping, a journal detailing symptoms I'd exhibited after consuming various substances, and, most damning of all, a drafted letter to my parents expressing Tyler's shock and devastation at finding me unresponsive after a tragic accident. I documented everything with my phone camera, hands trembling so badly, I had to retake several photos. Then I noticed an email from someone named Cynthia with the subject line, "When it's done." Once the insurance pays out, Tyler had written, "We can finally be together properly. No more hiding. No more pretending with her." Cynthia's response was brief. "Be careful. Make sure it looks natural. I can't wait to start our real life." The betrayal cut deeper than I imagined possible. Not just the murder plot, but the affair. The complete fiction of our marriage. Had any of it been real? The proposal on the beach steps. The whispered plans for children. The tender moments that still haunted my memory. I quietly returned to our bedroom, my mind shifting from shock to calculated fury. Tomorrow's beach picnic wasn't just an anniversary celebration. It was to be my ending. The finale of Tyler's elaborate performance. In the morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in years. After Tyler left for his supposed job interview, I systematically searched the cottage. Under the bathroom sink, behind cleaning supplies, I found a locked metal box. The key was on Tyler's keychain, but a bobby pin and an online tutorial did the trick. Inside, various powders in labeled baggies, a small digital scale, printed research on lethal dosages, and several vials like the one I'd found in his razor case, each containing clear liquid. I selected one vial and researched its contents using the local library's public computer. The description matched a tasteless, odorless compound that could cause cardiac arrest when combined with alcohol, mimicking a heart attack in otherwise healthy individuals. The perfect natural death. Before returning home, I stopped at a small pharmacy 2 towns over, purchasing several items with cash. My hands were steady now, my mind clear. If Tyler wanted a show, I'd give him one he'd never forget. As I prepared for our beach picnic, applying makeup with extra care, I caught myself humming. The fear had evaporated, replaced by icy determination. Tyler had taught me well over these months. How to smile while plotting how to kiss someone you plan to betray. The vial from his toiletry bag sat in my purse alongside my new purchases. My phone was fully charged, the camera ready. I'd even prepared a small surprise of my own for our special toast. "Ready to go?" Tyler called from the doorway. Picnic basket in hand. His smile seemed genuine, excited even. Perhaps he too was looking forward to the final act of his performance. Ready? I confirmed, picking up my purse. More ready than he could possibly imagine. The drive to our favorite beach spot was oddly peaceful. Tyler hummed along to the radio while I watched the coastal scenery blur past my window, mentally rehearsing each step of what was to come. 6 months ago, this same drive had filled me with butterflies. A new wife beside her adoring husband heading toward a picture-perfect sunset. Now, I felt nothing but a strange, detached calm. "You're quiet," Tyler remarked, reaching over to squeeze my knee. His hand lingered there, warm and proprietary. I fought the urge to flinch. "Just tired from work," I replied with a practiced smile, looking forward to relaxing. When we arrived, I couldn't help but be impressed. Tyler had outdone himself with the setup. A picture-perfect scene straight from a romantic film. Our usual spot was transformed with a large plaid blanket anchored by smooth stones at each corner. Mason jars with flickering candles created a golden circle of light against the darkening sky. A wicker picnic basket sat prominently in the center, surrounded by scatter cushions from our living room. "You did all this?" I asked, genuinely surprised by the effort. "For my beautiful wife," Tyler beamed, pulling me close to kiss my temple. 6 months deserves something special. I noted that he'd chosen the secluded cove rather than the main beach. Fewer potential witnesses. How convenient. He led me to the blanket, positioning me to face the ocean with my back to the steep dunes behind us. Another strategic choice. If I collapsed, no one from the parking area would see. I suppressed a shiver and settled onto a cushion. "I made all your favorites," Tyler said, unpacking the basket with theatrical flourish. "Lobster rolls with that aioli you love from Beacon Street Bistro. Those rosemary crackers from the farmer's market." And he pulled out a small container with a proud smile. "Blueberry cheesecake bites from Marie's Bakery. All foods I'd mentioned loving during our courtship. All restaurants we'd visited during happier times." The performance was impeccable. A greatest hits collection of our relationship designed to disarm me. "Tyler, this is..." I forced emotion into my voice. "It's perfect. Only the best for you," he replied, his eyes suspiciously bright. Was he actually tearing up? The Oscar-worthy performance made me wonder if he'd missed his calling in acting rather than marketing. As the sun began its descent, casting long golden fingers across the water, Tyler became increasingly sentimental. He reminisced about our first meeting, our courthouse wedding, the small moments that had supposedly meant so much to him. Each memory was recounted with precision, almost as if rehearsed. "Remember when we got caught in that downpour at Portland Headlight?" he asked, arranging food on small plates. "You were soaked, but still wanted to take that selfie. You complained about your shoes for days," I added, watching his face carefully. His smile flickered momentarily. I'd gone off script. "Did I?" he said. "I don't remember that part." Of course not, because it hadn't happened. That day had been perfectly sunny. A small test, and he'd failed spectacularly. Tyler recovered quickly, launching into another story. This one actually accurate. I noted how he positioned himself slightly above me, always maintaining visual control of the situation. His eyes occasionally darted to the picnic basket where something remained unpacked. I ate cautiously, taking small bites, watching him pretend to enjoy his own food while monitoring my consumption. The lobster roll tasted normal, but I couldn't be sure. I secretly slipped small bits of food into a napkin whenever his attention drifted. "This sunset reminds me of that painting in your parents' house," he said, wiping his hands. "The one you said you wanted for our bedroom someday." Another fabrication. My parents didn't own any sunset paintings. "It's breathtaking," I agreed, matching his pretense with my own. The tide was coming in, waves creeping closer to our blanket. Perfect timing. The rhythmic sound would mask any distress I might display later. Had he planned that, too? As the last sliver of sun melted into the horizon, Tyler reached into the basket and withdrew a thermos and 2 plastic champagne flutes. My pulse quickened. "I've been saving something special," he announced, unscrewing the cap. Pink liquid poured into the glasses. Lemonade with a slight rosy tint. Strawberry lemonade with a twist. My own recipe. He handed me a glass, his fingers brushing mine deliberately. I detected a faint unusual odor, something chemical beneath the strawberry sweetness. "Aren't you going to try it?" he prompted when I merely held the glass. "I made it just for you." "I thought we could toast first," I suggested, raising my glass slightly. "To 6 wonderful months." Tyler nodded, pleased. "To us, to our future." His enthusiasm was chilling. The eagerness of someone who knew this future would be measured in minutes, not years. "Actually," I said, lowering my glass, "I forgot to show you something." I reached into my purse and removed the small pharmacy bag I'd prepared. "Look what I found at that boutique you like." Tyler frowned momentarily, confused by the deviation from his plan. As he leaned forward to see, eyes locked on the bag, I moved with practiced efficiency. One smooth motion. That's all it took to switch our glasses. My untouched lemonade for his. "Just a little anniversary surprise for later," I explained, returning the bag to my purse. His frown dissolved into that practiced smile. "You're full of surprises lately," he said, raising his glass again. "To us, to getting exactly what we deserve," I responded, meeting his eyes steadily. We clinked glasses. I pretended to sip while watching him drink deeply, thirsty after his performance. The satisfaction in his eyes was unmistakable. Mission accomplished in his mind. The pink liquid disappeared down his throat as the last light faded from the sky. "That's delicious," I lied, setting my mostly full glass aside. "The perfect end to a perfect evening." Tyler nodded, draining his glass entirely. "You need to hydrate, babe," he insisted, already reaching for the thermos. "Have some more." I waved him off. "Maybe in a bit. Let's enjoy this view first." Little did he know, we were about to witness very different finales to the evening he'd so carefully planned. We sat watching the waves for several minutes, the sound of the surf filling the silence between us. Tyler checked his watch repeatedly, a slight frown creasing his forehead. He was waiting for something to happen to me. "Are you feeling okay?" he asked, his voice laced with false concern. His eyes scanned my face intently. "I'm fine," I replied. "Why wouldn't I be?" His smile tightened. "No reason. Just checking on my wife." 10 minutes passed. 15. I watched his confusion grow as he reached for the thermos again, pouring himself another glass of the pink lemonade. His hands trembled slightly, the first sign. "You know," he said, voice suddenly hoarse, "I don't feel so great." "What's wrong?" I asked, injecting just the right amount of concern into my voice. He pressed a hand to his chest, blinking rapidly. "Just heartburn, maybe." The second glass, insurance, I supposed, disappeared down his throat. A desperate measure. Within minutes, beads of sweat formed on his forehead despite the cool evening breeze. He loosened his collar, breath coming faster. "Tyler," I touched his arm, my performance beginning. "You're really pale. What's happening?" Tyler was on his back now, gasping like a landed fish. His eyes locked on mine, accusatory, bewildered, and something else. Recognition, he knew. I held the phone to my ear with one hand and gripped his fingers with the other, leaning close. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" I whispered low enough that the dispatcher couldn't hear, "About the poison, the insurance policy, Cynthia." His eyes widened. "They're sending an ambulance," I announced loudly for the benefit of the dispatcher. "Hold on, baby. Please hold on." The poison worked faster than I'd anticipated. By the time blue lights flashed in the parking lot above the dunes, Tyler was convulsing, foam gathering at the corners of his mouth. I flagged down the paramedics with my phone's flashlight, screaming for help in a performance worthy of his. We were celebrating our anniversary, I sobbed as they rushed to his side. He just collapsed. Is he having a heart attack? They worked with practiced efficiency, checking vitals, administering oxygen, and loading him onto a stretcher. I clutched the thermos of lemonade, making sure it came with us. Evidence was important, after all. What did he consume today? One paramedic asked as they carried Tyler up the dune path. I handed over the thermos, trembling. Just this lemonade. He made it himself. In the ambulance, holding Tyler's cold hand as the siren wailed, I experienced a strange doubling of emotion. Genuine horror at watching someone die mixed with cold satisfaction at having escaped the same fate. His eyes remained fixed on mine until they rolled back, his body jerking one final time before going completely still. We're losing him, a paramedic shouted. They diverted to the hospital anyway, performing CPR in a futile rhythm that continued through the emergency entrance and down sterile corridors. I was directed to a small waiting room where a police officer eventually found me hunched over and hollow-eyed. Mrs. Murray, I'm Officer Daniels. I'm so sorry about your husband. The past tense confirmed what I already knew. I collapsed into renewed sobs, my body shaking with the emotional release of the past 72 hours. Can you tell me what happened today? He asked gently when my crying subsided. I recounted the anniversary picnic, the special lemonade Tyler had prepared, his sudden collapse. The perfect portrait of a devastated widow. We'll need to run some tests, Officer Daniels explained. Standard procedure when there's an unexpected death. Of course, I whispered. Whatever you need. While hospital staff collected samples from the thermos, police officers accompanied me home to gather Tyler's medical information. I directed them to his laptop for his medical history, knowing exactly what they would find. 3 days later, Detective Simmons sat across from me at our kitchen table, a folder open between us. Mrs. Murray, I'm afraid we've discovered some disturbing information. Her tone was careful, measuring my reaction. Your husband's laptop contained evidence suggesting he was planning to. She paused, searching for gentle words. Harm you. I widened my eyes in shock. What? There were searches about poisons, detailed notes about symptoms you'd been experiencing, and documents regarding a substantial life insurance policy. My hand flew to my mouth. That's impossible. The toxicology report showed significant levels of thallium in the lemonade, she continued, the same substance we found traces of in your hairbrush and coffee mug. He'd been poisoning you slowly. I don't understand, I whispered, the grief in my voice now tinged with horror. Why would he? We've also uncovered evidence of embezzlement from his former employer. Over $300,000 missing and communication with a woman named Cynthia Winters planning to leave the country using your insurance payout. My spouse replaced our wedding photo on his phone's background with a picture of his helper in a bikini. When he accidentally handed me his phone, I discovered the truth. I airdropped a video on the room TV while grinning. The security cameras captured him and her in my condo. His parents were observing. His mother gulped. His father got up and gave him a smack. The refrigerator held the chilled champagne. Lincoln loved rosemary roast chicken, and the aroma filled our small suburban apartment while Sinatra played quietly in the background. We had to have the ideal supper for our 5th anniversary. 5 years of marriage, 1 dream house, 2 promotions, 3 flats, and innumerable vows. He remarked it brought out the gold sparkles in my eyes, so I smoothed down my blue dress and grabbed my phone to see what time it was. Have you seen my phone, Bella? Lincoln, whose voice had that faint hint of annoyance I'd been so accustomed to hearing recently, said from upstairs, I think I left it on the counter. I returned his call and scanned the kitchen worktops until I saw his sleek black phone next to the salt and pepper shakers. I'll look, I said. My breath froze in my throat as the screen filled with alerts as I lifted it up. Caroline, Lincoln's assistant, was sitting on what appeared to be a hotel balcony in a small red bikini, where our wedding photo had been, that idyllic sunset picture of us laughing on the beach. She smiled at the camera, her beautiful blonde hair flying in the breeze. Before we go on to Bella's journey, my husband, I would want to express my gratitude for embracing this unvarnished examination of betrayal and redemption. Consider subscribing if you find tales of strong, intelligent women reclaiming their power, inspiring and rejecting victimization. It's totally free, and you won't miss another tale of self-discovery after a period of destruction. Let's now examine how Bella's idyllic existence started to go apart. Around the phone, my fingers froze. Suddenly, the music felt too loud and the environment too bright. I gazed at the picture, blinking carefully in case my perception changed. Lincoln had employed Caroline for less than a year. Young, driven, and with a degree in marketing, she possessed what my husband, the creative director of the advertising business, had called new ideas. Did you find it? I heard Lincoln's footsteps on the stairs as he yelled again. I put the phone back where I'd found it, screen down, with the same level of poise I employed in court when opposing counsel brought unexpected evidence at me.